Hello, I'm Dave, and 2 years ago I started a YouTube channel. And just today we've gone past 1,200 subscribers. I believe convention dictates that I should make a thank you video, and this one is long overdue. When I started my channel, it was mainly because I'd had a rough experience with a laptop that I'd bought. And I wanted to share that experience, so I decided to make a video and upload it to YouTube. And the channel was really born from there, and it's kind of evolved over time. I never set out to become some kind of superstar YouTuber. Certainly don't expect to get rich or even indeed cover any of the costs of producing the videos or buying the equipment. But it has proved to be a creative outlet for me, a time in my life where I really needed it. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But first of all, let me say please a huge thank you if you've subscribed to the channel. If you've been watching my videos, I really appreciate it. And I particularly appreciate all of the comments that I've received. I think a lot of people would shy away from posting content on YouTube because they think that the trolls will come out in force and that they'll get nothing but abuse, but that's certainly not been my experience. All of the lovely comments I've had some wonderful encouragement, some lovely compliments, and it seems you guys have really enjoyed what I've done, and I've really enjoyed interacting with you. That's been a really interesting part of the process for me. I thought maybe what I could do is just tell you a little bit more about myself and my background. Let's go back to the beginning. I had an interest in technology from a very young age, and I actually started programming from age 12. At the time, that was on our Acorn Electron computer. And this must have been the sort of 89, 90, somewhere around there. Now, the Acorn Electron was a bit long in the tooth by that point, but our family didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up, so that was what we had and we enjoyed it. Anyway, that's where my programming career started, using BBC Basic. From there, I think I had an Amstrad next, an Amstrad CPC 464, a similar sort of computer, 8-bit computer. And after that, I had an Amiga 600, which was really a step up. My appetite for programming and learning how to do things with the computer just grew and grew. I used to spend hours and hours on my computers. And when I left school, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a computer programmer. And I got an apprenticeship with the local council, and I was working in their IT department, supporting hundreds of employees using Windows for Workgroups. So that version 3.11, if memory serves. And it was my job to sort of run around changing the backup tapes, helping people out with their computer problems. Spent a lot of time defragging disks and replacing keyboards, that kind of thing. I can remember installing Windows from a set of floppy disks, and that was a pretty kind of boring exercise, but that had to be done. From there I went to a multimedia development company back in the days when CD-ROM multimedia disks were a thing, and we used to produce those in Macromedia Authorware, which was a sort of visual programming language. You could type code, but a lot of it was sort of visual, constructing visual program flows and putting media assets together, basically to make these CD-ROM encyclopedias or information disks. I did a few games, did a project where we kind of scanned every health leaflet ever for the health and safety executive, like back from the 40s or something. I spent 3 months of my life scanning leaflets. But that was a great thing to do because it taught me how to use Photoshop, taught me lots of useful skills that I still rely on today. And it was whilst I was working at this company that I first started web development. And back then it was HTML and Perl. And from there I think I went to ASP, and then in the early 2000s I migrated to PHP. And after that company, I worked for a couple of other web studios. I did some freelancing. But in 2005, I set up a web studio with a business partner. And, we had some moderate success with that. And eventually, a big media group came in to buy it out. I learned a lot of lessons through that process about running a business and, what to do when selling and what not to do. Certainly won't make the same mistakes again. And I did a freelance project for about 9 months where I was working on a payment gateway, sort of doing integrations with banking systems, building this software for taking card payments online. That included building server farms, speccing up the servers, doing the security so that it was compliant with the PCI DSS standard at the time. So again, loads more skills, really useful. And during this time also, I programmed a new content management system for websites, which I sold to a couple of different web studios. But then I'm sort of sat twiddling my thumbs thinking, well, what do I do next? And my friend Pete at the same time was a bit fed up with his employment situation. So we decided to start another web studio and went in as equal partners. Because I already had the servers, I already had the code base, we were able to get started quite quickly. And the company's grown. We're about 9 years later now, I think. I think we've been going 9 years and we're up to 35 employees. Of course, the web industry moves at such a rapid pace, and as the business has grown, I've found that I've come away from the coalface. So I'm not working on the code anymore. I'm spending my life in Excel spreadsheets and meetings, taking care of the finances, the legal and the HR side of the business. And that's okay, I don't mind doing that. But I'm a very creative person, so this has kind of been a bit of a jolt to me. And what you find is when you're running a business is that things change gradually around you and you don't become aware of those changes. But one day you'll wake up and suddenly you realize everything has changed, and it's quite shocking to the system. It's a bit like where, you've not seen your friend's kids for a year and all of a sudden they're a foot taller. It's that kind of situation where you suddenly, you're back down to earth with a bang and you realize that everything's changed and you feel very unsettled about that. For me as a creative person, I suddenly found, well, I wasn't doing the code anymore. I wasn't doing any kind of graphic design work. I wasn't doing any video or photography. And because the business was taking up so much of my time, I found I wasn't being creative at home. I wasn't doing any drawing and I wasn't recording music. I stopped playing my guitars. So I've been through this period recently of feeling really unsettled, really flat, not having a creative outlet. And YouTube has really helped with that, because not only have I produced some content, which is a creative process, but I've had people watch it, people subscribe to the channel and then feed back to me and compliment me on what I've done and give me encouragement. And that's such a rewarding process. It's been part of a healing process for me, and I feel so much more optimistic now, and I'm really looking forward to the future, and I feel a lot happier about what I'm doing and about my work situation. So yeah, thank you very much for helping me with that. That's been quite a significant thing for me. I don't know that I'm ever going to be a prolific poster of content. I struggle to get videos up because I don't have the time for it. In addition to the business, I'm a family man. I've been married coming up 20 years now. I've got 2 teenage sons, so that takes time. I do volunteer work as well, so that takes a bit of my time away. So I'm kind of fitting the videos in around that. My hope is over the coming year that I'll be able to do more video work because my work with the business is decreasing. I'm not quite as involved as I used to be. Took a bit of a step back at the start of the year. So I've got a little bit more time available now, and I'm going to devote that to making video and hopefully get to the sort of 1 video a week level, which would be nice. I've been struggling actually because I don't have a dedicated studio space. We do have a studio at work that we've been setting up, and it's not been entirely successful. I think the building just doesn't really work. The acoustics aren't right, so we're working on changing that. And I found myself just kind of filming in my office at work or in this cabin here in the garden or wherever I can really, and using my own equipment, which is a cheap sort of $10 lavalier microphone, and it's just really poor. So this is my first video with a decent microphone. Hopefully the sound quality is much better. Let me know if you think it's improved. And I shoot my videos on a Panasonic G9 camera. As a keen photographer, that's what I use for my photography. I like the Micro Four Thirds system. I have just bought a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, the 4K version. So I'm planning to kind of transition to using that as my main camera for shooting my content. When it comes to content, obviously I started the channel and I thought about the tech content that I would create. because I am a complete geek when it comes to technology. But that's not my only passion in life. I'm a complete petrol head as well. I love my cars, and I especially love motorcycling. So I wanted to make some motorcycle content as well. I love music, so I wanted to make some music content. I love photography, so I'd like to make some content about that. I don't know whether I can put all of that content onto the Constant Geekery channel now that it's kind of established itself as a tech channel. But if you would like to see any of those types of content, please let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to oblige. With regard to tech content for the channel, I've got a few things planned. Obviously, I've already mentioned the eGPU in other videos that I've done. So I'm going to reconnect that up to the Mac Pro. It's not currently connected, so I'm going to film the whole process from start to finish and put it through its paces, compare it to the MacBook Pro using the same eGPU. So that's a video that's coming out soon. I recently built a gaming PC with my two boys. We sort of combined our money to buy a gaming PC, and we built it together, and I filmed that process. So I just need to edit that together, and that's some content that will be coming to the channel soon as well. I've had in mind as well to have another play with the Raspberry Pi. I had a Raspberry Pi when they first came out. I've had several over the years, but the new Raspberry Pi 4 is quite a step up in power. So I'm interested to try that out, get one of those, and I'd like to try doing some retro gaming, install RetroPie on it. I quite fancy having a look at RISC-OS as well, because there's a port to the Raspberry Pi of the RISC-OS operating system. Now, you remember we spoke earlier about Acorn computers, and the generation of Acorn computers that came after the BBC computer were ARM-powered machines with this RISC-OS operating system on it. And it was really quite advanced and ahead of its time. So it'd be interesting to see how that translates to the Raspberry Pi, which of course is also running an ARM processor. When Acorn Computer went bust, the intellectual property or the designs for that ARM CPU got siphoned off into another company, and it's obviously just gone from strength to strength from there. ARM CPUs are an exciting area of tech, and I think next year Apple will probably release their first laptop running on an ARM CPU. I think that is going to be the future. Those ARM CPUs are pretty incredible. In fact, I've got some video content on that I'd like to bring to you as well, comparing the iPad Pro with the MacBook Pro for things like video editing. I've digressed. Let's go back to the Raspberry Pi for a moment. I'm thinking about doing a little video about how to build a simple web server using a Raspberry Pi. So you could host your own website at home, using PHP, using MySQL as a database, that kind of thing. So if that kind of tech geekery appeals to you, then I hope to bring that to you later this year. I've got a whole bunch of other ideas as well around Mac content, PC content, and I'd also like to bring some educational content to the channel, sharing some of the tech skills that I've learned over the years with you. So there you have it, an introduction to me, a little bit of my history and background, and some plans for the future of the channel. And I hope you'll be with me for that journey. I hope to add to the subscriber base. It'd be really nice to get to the next milestone, which I guess is the 10,000 mark, which just seems absolutely incredible for me to say that. I never expected to even get to 1,000 subscribers. It took 18 months to get to 100 subscribers. That was partly because I didn't tell anybody about my channel. Not family, not friends. I didn't want anybody to know about it. I just wanted the content to speak for itself. And if I got subscribers, well, great. So it did take a long time. I'm sure you can do it a lot faster than that. But if you are starting out in YouTube and you're still under 100 subscribers, stick at it. It does take a bit of time. It takes a lot of effort. But once you get to 100, things do seem to start moving. YouTube throws you a bone. In my case, it gave me a couple of days in the algorithm for one of my Mac Pro videos, and that helped my subscriber numbers to start climbing. And it's now climbing at the rate of about 50 new subscribers every week, and that amount seems to be increasing. So I suppose it is conceivable that we could get to 10,000 subscribers, and it would be amazing to work with an audience base of that size. So if you're not already subscribed, please click the button. And just a word on that, when you're watching YouTube channels, hitting subscribe, it only costs you a click, and it means so much to the creators of content. It really helps them to make that content. And consider using that thumbs up button as well, because that helps our content to get featured in the Google algorithm. Again, it only costs you one click. Obviously, If the content's a load of rubbish, thumb it down, and that's fine too. In any case, I'll see you next time for some more geekery.